Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you just confirm that you can hear me in your headsets? It's okay? So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elisa Teles. I'm a law student at the Federal University of Ceará in Brazil, in the northeast of Brazil, and I'm also part of the Youth COP team. The Youth COP is a youth engagement and empowerment and also climate education initiative, which is promoted by three different universities in three different countries. The Federal University of Ceará in Brazil, my university, the Université Paris Cité in France, and also Sorbonne University Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. So the Youth COP is a project that started with this idea of giving young people more of a voice to participate, an opportunity to participate in different and important discussions regarding climate change and regarding our environment. So as you can see in that photo, we have a lot of different countries participating. The Youth COP every year promotes a mock negotiation of the COP. So 35 teams of students are chosen from all over the world to participate in our negotiation, which simulates the real life COP. So we choose participants from different universities from all over the world, and they get assigned each a different country that is different from their own native country. And in that experience, they have to represent that country, study, research, and learn about that country, their interests, what are their demands, their realities, and negotiate as representatives of that country. So in the Youth COP, they have to be a country that's different from theirs. They need to do a lot of research. So it is a great opportunity for learning and for developing a lot of skills. We always choose different themes that align with the same year's COP. And for this year, the themes we chose are two very important ones. The first one was biodiversity and the ocean. And the second theme was energy transition. Obviously, two themes that we all know that are very important, not only for this year's COP, but for every discussion that we have regarding the climate and the climate change. So you're going to learn a little bit more, hear a little bit about those themes later in our panel when we invite the winning students to come here and talk to you. But a little spoiler about what we're going to have later on. The Youth COP, besides having those students from all over the world participating in the negotiation, also choose the best students. This year we have 4 best students of the negotiation and invite them to come with us to the COP. So as you can see in this first line here, we have the 4 winning students for this year. We have the winning team and the 2 best speakers of the event who were invited to come with us and help us create the Youth Declaration of the Youth COP, which will be also read later. So before we continue talking about the Youth COP, I would like to give thanks to a few important institutions that helped us be here. The first one that I would like to thank is the Ocean Pavilion for the amazing invitation to be here to share our project with you. It is obviously a very beautiful pavilion and a lot of beautiful work is being done here. So we are very, very grateful to be able to speak here and to get to know all of you. So thank you for everyone involved in the Ocean Pavilion for having us here. Also, I would like to thank the 3 amazing institutions that help promote our project. So the Federal University of Ceará, Sorbonne University Abu Dhabi, and Université Paris Cité. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping us show the importance of listening to students, listening to youth, and listening to universities, to the academia that can bring important topics to the discussions of climate change. We would also like to give thanks to a very important institution, which is our sponsor institution, Cubo Itaú, which is an innovation hub that's held in Brazil, but helps promote innovation all over the world. It's an innovation hub that finds startups related to technology and development and helps them get to different places, get to different development levels. So it is a very important institution that we are very grateful for having by our side. And finally, I would like to thank our 2 supporters. The first one is Jungo, so the Children and Youth Constituency of the UNFCCC. It is one of our supporters that gives us a platform and helps us promote our project. And also, last but not least, the Jean Monnet Chair for Energy Transition, which is promoted by Erasmus in partnership with the Federal University of Ceará and helps promote research on energy transition. So thank you for all of our sponsors for allowing us to be here and supporting us throughout this journey. So now let's talk a little bit more about the Youth COP. As I said, were the two themes chosen for this year: biodiversity in the ocean and also energy transition. The four students are going to talk a little bit more about what they discussed regarding those topics and what they got to learn in the Youth Cup, but those were the two main themes of our discussion. Here are our sponsors, so we would like to once again thank them for the support. And for this year, what was the motivation behind our project? The Youth Cup is a project that started with this motivation, this idea of allowing youth to participate, to get to people, to get to the COP, to get to places where we usually don't get to be. So it is very good for us to be able to promote this, this objective and be able to bring youth here to be allowed to talk to you and helping prepare the next generation of climate leaders. So currently, the youth is the youth, but in just a few years, we are going to be the leaders, we are going to be the ones talking and actually making change. So it's very important for us in the Youth Cup to be able to give these young people the opportunity to speak, to negotiate, to learn different topics, to learn about climate change and the important environment topics that they will need to work with and to make change in the next few years, in the very, very close next few years. So our first main motivation is helping to farm this next generation of climate leaders. And secondly, we also love to show the importance of listening to youth and listening to the universities. The universities are one of the main hubs of learning about climate change. So, for example, the ocean is one of the very important topics that in general, we sometimes don't hear people talking about, but we see that the universities in general are very focused on it. So the university is very important to bring attention to important topics that we don't usually see. So it is very, very important and inadmissible and essential for us to listen to the main topics that the universities are bringing. So this is one of the main ideas of the Youth Cup, showing the importance of listening to the university. And this importance of listening to youth, to the universities, was very happily reached this year with the second edition of the Youth Cup. In this edition, we got to reach over 150 participants from all over the world that represented 67 institutions, different universities from all over the world, from multiple countries. You will see from the 4 students that were awarded that we have a huge diversity represented, a lot of different continents, different countries, different cultures and languages. So this is just a small part, and I would say some of the best that we got in the Youth Cup this year. But we got to reach a lot of different young people, different universities, and got to listen to all of them, which was a great opportunity. So this is what we got to show this year. And those over 150 students, among them we chose 35 teams made up of 2 people each, some of them from the same university, some of them from different universities, that got to develop a lot of different skills. So the Youth Cup is an opportunity for them to learn about negotiation, problem solving, researching, as they have to actually write documents and position papers representing the countries that they got assigned to. Also, they had to learn about cooperation and teamwork, to work together, not only among their team, but with the other teams that they had to negotiate it with. And finally, learning the different climate positionings of the different countries that they were representing and that they were talking to in the negotiations. So they got to develop all those skills, which is one of the main topics that we like to focus in the Youth Cup, as all of those are essential for the future climate leaders. Now, to continue, I would like to invite Adriana Lima, also from the Youth Cup team, who will continue now inviting the amazing students that we got to bring to the Youth Cup, to the COP this year, to talk to you a little bit about what they got to do, what they got to learn, what they discussed this year. So thank you for listening to me, and now I would like to invite Adriana.
Thank you so much. Do you listen well? I'm a bit shorter. Okay, so first I would like to thank you all for being here. And we are very honored to be here, in fact. And now I'm going to give you just some background on the relation between ocean and climate. And as Elisa was speaking, Youth COP is a very important project for us. And it's what really enabled us to have this perspective on how ocean and climate change relate. So thriving on the experience of our professors and on the partner universities, we really had the opportunity to have these new perspectives on the relations between climate change and ocean. So we understand that we cannot treat environmental challenges as isolated, because frequently we have different environmental agendas, but they are really interconnected and intertwined. So we try to think that if we have some environmental issues, we have to address them in all their complexity, how they relate to biodiversity laws, for example, and climate change. So when you think about the ocean, it is suffering from many stressors, marine plastic pollution, and when we think about climate change specifically, we can think about ocean acidification, sea level rise, marine heat waves. So we try to see these environmental issues all in this complexity and try to make these connections. And at the same time as the ocean is suffering all these impacts and stressors, it is also one of our biggest allies to help us move forwards from the challenges posed by climate change. So it's very important to us to think how to promote ocean resilience, not only for us, but also for next generations. And when you think about ocean and climate change, maybe we can think of some examples that at first are not very obvious, like marine plastic pollution. We might think that it is just an ocean problem, but in fact it is very much connected to climate change, because plastics release carbon dioxide throughout their whole life cycle. So once they enter the ocean as their final destination, as it usually happens, they keep releasing carbon dioxide there, and it increases climate change effects in the ocean, such as ocean acidification. So it is very important for us to raise awareness about these connections, not to think, trying to think outside the box and making these connections. And yeah, for us, we really believe that protecting the ocean is also protecting mankind, and we really have to think about ensuring ocean resilience. And thinking about the next generations, I would like to invite our winners of Youth Cup 2024. And I have your names here. So please join us. Anshita Arora from Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies in New Delhi. Samuel Carvalho from Pace University, New York. Séverine Dinault from Université Paris, Panthéon-Sorbonne. And Sophia Kam from Durham University, Ireland. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. This is our next generation of climate leaders, so we are very excited to have you here. And we are going to start with some questions for you, okay? So please be seated. And my first question is actually two questions in one. So what did you discuss on the Youth COP regarding the ocean? And what would you like to see being discussed at COP29? So please, I would like to start with Séverine. What do you think about it?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So first I wanted to thank the Ocean Pavilion for hosting us and the Youth COP for giving us this unique opportunity to be here at COP29, because usually youth doesn't access these kind of events, and it's really I'm really grateful to be here. So one thing I was excited about discussing at Youth COP related to the ocean is the powerful tool that is the area-based conservation tool, the marine protected areas. Marine protected areas are used throughout the world, but according to a report released in May 2024, marine protected areas are not well enough implemented. Countries are racing to cover 30% of the ocean as according to the target set in the coming Montreal Protocol from the CBD, but they're not actually managing and effectively tracking implementation and effective governance, because 1/3 of the MPAs don't have a high enough level of protection. 1/4 of them are not yet implemented, and 1/3 of them are still have industrial and highly impactful activities within it. So that's based on this. at Youth COP, we discussed and actually drafted a decision on having a global network for MPAs to have a top-down approach on this issue, having a common definition of MPAs, because actually countries do not share the same definition. Each one is, even if it's based mainly on the IUCN guidances, it's not always shared. They do not share always the same objectives. And so this global network will give uniformity to the MPA's protection, having also prioritizing also ecological representativity, so prioritizing rich biodiversity areas, also threatened and endangered species, prioritizing also a well-connected through, for example, corridors, because that is why that is what allows, like, for example, the migration of species, the ecological resilience, and the flowing of genes, also what could be helpful with having a global network is that it would allow for a transboundary MPAs to be established. And this is related also to the new BBNG treaty, which allows for the establishment. So a global network will help have transboundary, so beyond sovereignty. And finally, we thought that, so this is also, it was interesting in the discussion because we were all representing different countries, but they all have interests in oceans, because how Adriana said, it is our best ally to tackling climate change issues, and it is very important for food security, for access to medicine, for also like the establishment of renewables, etc. So that was one decision I was really happy to discuss. And related to the other question about what I would like to see happening in COP29, I think it would be personally the next step after adopting the transitioning away from fossil fuels wording, because that's not something we really discussed at the Youth COP, but that's really what really concerns everyone, and that's the first source. The greenhouse gases emissions are the first source of climate change, and it is what is affecting our ocean through acidification and other related topics to adverse effects on oceans. So yeah, that would be.
Thank you so much. That's a very fresh perspective. And I would like to invite Sophia to share her opinion about what did you discuss on Youth COP and what would you like to see happening on COP29.
Hello, everyone. I'd firstly like to say thank you so much for coming to our panel. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be able to sit before you today and discuss these topics with you. And also would like to say thank you to the wonderful Ocean Pavilion for hosting us, and to the Youth COP for this wonderful opportunity. The Youth COP was such an expansive, transcendent experience. And we discussed so many interesting things, from carbon markets to climate finance. But the wonderful decision that I'm going to focus on today was the decision about tackling plastic pollution by utilizing a circular economy theory. And what was really interesting, and what's something I'd like to focus on in my discussion, is the values behind the theory, what we were trying to discuss. Because one thing that I noticed throughout the Youth COP, the youth voices that were present, were talking about systemic change, not change which was very high level, surface level, that would, very more mitigative. We really wanted to see how could we change the systems that are around us. And from that, we were talking about what we came to the conclusion was, as seen in numerous decisions and the declarations which we proposed, was that we really need value change. So I am actually a natural scientist. I study chemistry, earth science, and business. And when thinking about plastics, as we all know, very pervasive problem, I'm not going to reiterate that. But I actually did a research project about this a few years ago. And what was really interesting to me was the fact that how we define waste, how we define materials, how we value our land, the resources, water, our oceans, and that relationship between human interaction and these things is the complete cornerstone and foundation in the measures in which we will use to then create how we value our oceans, how we value those vital ecosystems, which we depend on. We would not be all here, humanity, all our civilizations, we are all dependent on on our oceans. Yet, and our value of our oceans is relevant to the fact that we have, massive, garbage, piles of plastic grazing in them. And what was really interesting to me was the fact that in this youth COP, so many of the youth all of us were aligned in the fact that we needed systems change. We needed change to think about how we come from the core. And really what we came to the conclusion was the core was those values. And this decision, one of the things that it talked about was countries adapting plans. So can you hear me now? Thank you so much. So the idea of countries ambitiously adopting plastic action plans. So I'm from Ireland and I study in the UK. And Ireland has a very beautiful, rich, diverse coastline. But still, we see these issues that in Ireland, recycling schemes, how we value material is not as seen in our society. And it's something that it really bothers me. And even if I've been here at the Youth COP, I've been trying to collect the plastic that I have so I can recycling station and not just put it into the bin that's most convenient to me. So this is something that was really wonderful to discuss at the Youth COP. So how do we change our values and how do we change our perception of the value of plastic? And one thing that we didn't get a chance to discuss at the Youth COP was the prevalence of soil and food systems, which has a very important link to our oceans, our earth systems, how the interface between water and our oceans and the ecosystems between them is really important. So I would really love to see more ambitious action on soil and how we value our land as well as our oceans. Thank you so much for listening, and really thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Sophia. It was really fresh to see your perspective. Thank you for sharing. And I guess that listening to her shows how we are moving towards a better direction because our youth, and the word you used, value, I guess that's the point. We have to acknowledge the value of our ocean. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to invite Samuel, please, to share your opinions on the questions I asked before. So please.
Sure. First of all, thank you everyone again for being here, the Ocean Pavilion for having us, and the Youth COP also for giving us this opportunity. One of the things we talked about also during our negotiations was the need for mangrove protection. And that is because mangrove protections are a coastal ecosystem, and they really are pivotal. They play a pivotal role in maintaining biodiversity within terrestrial and even marine ecosystems. And in addition to that, they provide essential service and goods, not only biodiversity types, but also for human, like local communities that depend on mangroves ecosystems. So in addition to that, and actually also mangroves, they are crucial to combat climate change. They have a great potential for sequestrating and also storage carbon dioxide, which is why they're really just an amazing ecosystem to fight climate change. So, for instance, for carbon storage, they can store up to 4 and 5 times more carbon than forest-based ecosystems. So that's why they're just really this crucial ecosystems that people and countries and society really needs to pay attention to it. Unfortunately, mangrove degradation rate right now and for the past few years is just really increasing in a fast speed, in a fast rate. And all the good and essential service I just mentioned before, we are losing them. And we can't really, in our current situation, a climate crisis, really take this chance. So taking all of that into consideration, our discussions during the negotiation, we thought, how can we help finance projects to preserve, conserve, restore mangrove ecosystems? And one topic that really came up to mind and we discussed it really deeply was REDD+ initiatives. So REDD+ stands for reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. It's basically compensating landowners, financially compensating landowners for evident carbon dioxide emission reductions. So, for instance, let's say I have a land of mangroves that are totally degraded. If I have an initiative that will restore that land, then those projects, they can receive financial aid to do that. So that was really one thing that we deeply discussed, how countries and also society and private sector could really leverage those type of initiatives. And furthermore, there are two main instruments that we also thought they could play a major role in this financing. The first one was the Green Climate Fund. So in one of the decisions, we urged the Green Climate Fund to prioritize mangrove protection into their agenda and really urge countries also to direct their fundings to projects related to conservation of mangroves and restoration of mangroves. So that was the first one. The second one was carbon markets. So mangrove restoration conservation, when they relate to carbon markets, they are called blue carbon credits. And right now, unfortunately, we don't have an international carbon market as established under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. So we really would like to see some push and some development there to really have this international carbon market that could leverage finance for mangrove conservation and restoration initiatives. So yeah, those are the main things we discussed about mangroves, their importance and how we could leverage their financing. What I think I would like to see at COP29, I believe biodiversity credits. We've been hearing so much about biodiversity credits and how they relate to terrestrial ecosystems, and I believe many people are aware of. But basically, biodiversity credits awards some entities for achieving some specific target goals relating to positive nature or environmental outcomes. However, we haven't been seeing and listening very much about how those biodiversity credits can relate to marine and coastal ecosystems. And I think that could be also one mechanism that we could use. And really, I'd like to see a discussion moving forward in that direction. So we could have as many mechanisms as we can to really increase and support mangrove conservation and restoration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting to hear your opinions. Thank you for sharing. And I guess this only shows how the ocean has so many innovative solutions to provide to us, how the potential of the ocean is so huge. So thank you. And now, please, Anshita, share with us your opinion about what you discussed on Youth COP and what would you like to see in this COP29. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, all right. So thank you so much, Ocean Pavilion, for hosting us. And I would like to, as much as I can thank the Youth Cup, I cannot thank them enough because I've been participating in this competition from last 2 years. I participated last year and then I participated again. And the negotiations that happened in both the years, it was like a pool. Like it ranged from beginning to ending. Like we discussed a lot of topics, numerous topics related to energy, related to oceans, related to biodiversity, related to like a lot of arenas that are not discussed at the moment. So related to oceans, we this time we discussed about having youth climate assemblies like we have of the government. So having youth climate assemblies is like very essential. So we like discussed about that how we can have it like at a local level, at a national level and at an international level, and how youth can be like involved very much in discussing the oceans related topic. Then we discussed that how right now there is like a dire need of research, innovation, and infrastructure in terms of the blue carbon projects. There's like the urgent need to actually work in that. And I was wondering, and we were like discussing, what about we have like a global platform where we can like have a portal with blue jobs like we have for green jobs. And like we all know, there's no green without blue. So we can like have a global platform with having like green job and blue jobs together, where people from different backgrounds, they can probably come and they can like enter their details and they can actively participate into the areas of discussion, or maybe how they can streamline their workforce by actively participating into these green or blue jobs. So then we discussed about that how there is like a need for deployment of ocean-based renewable resources and mechanisms. There is a need to actually go into researching a lot about the new technologies like the tidal one, that how we can have like a floating solar in order to have like a ocean-based renewable source. And then we discussed a lot about how we can actually implement the CCS, that is like the carbon capture and storage mechanism, and the carbon dioxide removal mechanism in the oceans in order to actually manage and in order to actually kind of navigate the oceans in a better manner. And then we discussed a lot about how there can be new technologies, how there can be new technological advancement in the oceans, because we all know that this is like the world of AI. So how we can actually link the present world with having a world that needs better technological advancement. So that was like the crux of what all we discussed in the Youth COP. And something that I would like to actually see in the coming COP or the discussions would be focused on 3 pointers. First, it would be related to how we can actually integrate the people into the mainstream projects like we have right now. So how can grassroots level people, let's say people from villages or people from areas that are not very known to us, like I represented a country from that is like an SIDS, so small island developing country. So it was very tough for me to actually research on that country because it is not very known. So there is a need for raising awareness about a lot of things in different areas. Like maybe the countries that are in the north, they know a lot about oceans, they know a lot about the scientific advancement, but the people maybe in the SIDS or LDS, they don't know a lot about it. There is lack of technology transfer. There is lack of knowledge and awareness. That is like something that should be there. And second, I think that I would love to actually hear discussions on having like a global market for blue jobs and green jobs. And thirdly, one of the most important topics that is deep sea mining. So right now, people like countries do deep sea mining at a very large level. Companies do deep sea mining, and they say that we have like abundance of minerals in order to have like sources for green energy. Like we extract minerals and then we have we convert it into green energy sources. So I want to discuss the repercussions of having deep sea mining, because everyone is looking at the positive side of deep sea mining. But if we see that we all know that anything which is done in excessive nature, it's harmful. So if we are extracting like the lower, like the bottommost layer of the sea, it is going to actually do a destruction of the coral reef and the seabed. So maybe we can discuss about the technological advancement related to that, maybe having an engineered coral reefs and having like an infrastructure that can actually ensure that deep sea mining doesn't turn into a bane for us, and it remains on the positive side. So yeah, like that are some of the topics that I would like to hear from up. So yeah, thank you once again for hearing us all and being here at the pavilion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anshita. It was very inspiring, and I hope you are all enjoying the discussion as much as I am. But I would like to invite my colleague to continue our panel. Please, Stephanie, come.
Thank you very much, Adriana, and thanks for your contributions so far. Moving forward in our discussion, I would like to ask you, how do you think this project, Youth COP, impacts your career? So, Samuel, I would like to start.
Sure. Thank you again for the question. I would like to emphasize 2 points that I believe were very special for me during this simulation event program. First one was definitely the in-depth research we did. So we really like research their country's positions and other countries' position, and it was just like fantastic to really read and learn how different countries, and even with like similar kind of geography and ecosystems, they have like different approaches to the same issue. So really just like learning more about the topics of biodiversity, conservation, and the marine also conservation, all those coastal ecosystems was just really crucial for really deepening and furthering our knowledge about that. And the second point was definitely the negotiation skills. Those soft skills, I think they were we developed during the negotiations. We had to come to agreement and all of that. And for my future, personally, I would love to work with international law. And I think that's how it relates to the research we conducted. So we have a lot of research, we have a lot of knowledge, but we have to get to common ground. So we have to be able to express and get our message to the other side so we can all get to an agreement. So I think that second part of negotiation skills and how we were able to translate all of that knowledge we had really into proposals and decisions, that was just very, very, very relevant and a skill that I've really kind of developed more during the simulation. So that was very special. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspective. And what about you, Anshita?
So thank you for the question. So I think the impact of career for me, it's huge, because right now I'm like being the youngest in the youth corp, and actually just pursuing my bachelor's right now. So this competition like opened my idea of looking the world at large. So I think that it has like sort of helped me to narrow down my area of interest and the area where I want to work in the future, and the area of expertise that I want to gain into. So I think this competition has really helped me to focus on the aspects that I would like to work on in the future. Let's say I would like to pursue masters in environmental law and then probably work one day in UN if it's in my destiny. So yeah, I want to bring change in the world. So I think this competition is like the stepping stone for it, and all my thanks goes to the Youth Corp team for giving me that opportunity. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Anshita, for sharing your point of view. And Sophia, do you share the same impressions as Anshita?
Most certainly. I think the thing that really I learned from this youth COP was, in my previous section, I talked about adaptation and system. And what was really interesting was when we were doing this immersive deep dive into all the policy documents of the country that me and my teammate represented, I had to switch from a climate activist perspective to a political leader's perspective. The systems change that we know we all need in the world is the most complex issue that humanity has ever faced. And I think what I learned in the Youth COP was an empathy to understand the fact that something that my delegation really focused on was making sure that we had a just transition for our citizens now, as well as a sustainable world for citizens in the future. And I realized that, of course, as a climate activist, I can go and I can, ask for change and systems change, but it is the complexity of this issue is the most complex that we have ever faced. And I think the balance between trying to understand what a political leader in the space needs to think about, the concerns, like the everyday concerns, like they have to represent their entire country, not just the interests of, climate activists. We cannot leave anyone behind in this, and it would be an injustice for sure if we achieved climate goals but by leaving other people behind and exacerbating inequality. So that deeper level of understanding that it is not just as simple as it seems on the surface, that there's so much we need to consider. And this is why it's brilliant that in an event such as this, we have people with very expert interests in lots of different fields so that we can come together and really foster that multidisciplinary curiosity and perspective and intellectual flexibility so that we can take all this expertise and work together to try and achieve the most pressing and difficult problem that we have ever faced. So I think having to switch from a very, pro-climate action stance to how would a leader, looking at the history, the culture, what does the population want, and trying to balance that. And then, because one of the components of the Youth COP was trying to represent our countries most accurately. And I can't even imagine, I can't even count all the documents that I read. And there was even stages between like, okay, I've read all these policy documents, but what does it mean? And what does it mean in the context of my country? And what does it mean in the context of the region of my country? And how have the citizens interacted with this? And what do they think? And, how, are they happy with these policies? So really a very empathetic approach to the leaders in the situation now. It's not easy, and we understand that. And it's not an excuse for a lack of climate action, but I understand more deeply now that this issue is extremely complex, and it has only given me a greater fire to research more, to understand more, to learn from as many disciplines and as many people as possible, so that if I ever have the honor of being in a position where I can make decisions on this, I'm thinking from as many different perspectives, many different areas of expertise as possible, so then we can make decisions for all in the best interest of all. So thank you.
Thank you, Sophia, for your contribution. And now we would also like to hear your thoughts on that. Severin, please.
Thank you, Stephanie. I studied law, environmental and international law for 5 years in 3 different universities. So it was actually a great opportunity for me to be here at the Youth COP with also like different university partners, universities from around the world. And it was a continuity of my academic experience, as I also trained in negotiations there. What I've learned, actually, what I couldn't learn in class, but I could learn through the Youth COP, was the intensity of negotiating, drafting documents, hearing listening to what other delegations are saying, while also trying to support our own country's lines and positions. And even though we were doing that online, and we would have like the couch of our home just near us, it was so intense. We had to deal with time zones as well, and this was like, I think, the best, the most carrying out of this. I also fully agree with what Sophia has said, because I come more from an activist background, and it was really different, like different line of speech and different line of thinking and researching solutions to be representing a country, and to try to find a common ground with other delegations which had also like different views on the interest you were defending. And even though I think in my career I will be keeping on the activism side, it was really a great opportunity to know what it is, what the complexity of those negotiations, and how you can still find solutions, because we all need this to make it happen. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Severin. And it was wonderful to address these topics with you all. And okay. Well, after this pleasant and enriching discussion, we must highlight the importance of investing in future climate leaders. As you can see, they have already started making a difference, and they are those who can promote real long-term transformation. As we have been emphasizing, universities play a significant role in cultivating these future climate leaders, particularly through these projects like this one, Youth COP, which fosters diplomatic and also political skills to tackle climate change. And this impact is evident through the simulation held as part of the last year's first edition, and even more through the last edition we had a few weeks ago. And it is inspiring to see your engagement and also your potential to transform these issues related to the ocean, to energy transition, and biodiversity. They had the opportunity to negotiate relevant topics and also to approve documents as a result of this high-level COP simulation. And based on these documents, the Youth COP has prepared a call to action for the next generation of climate leaders as follows. Before reading it, you can access the declaration through this QR code. And I will start reading it. Call to action for the next generation of climate leaders, advancing energy transition, biodiversity preservation, and ocean conservation of the Youth Conference of the Parties, held online from 27 to 29 September 2024. The Youth Conference of the Parties. Recognizing the pressing climate crisis threatening both current and future generations, and understanding that current nationally determined contributions is to protect a global temperature rise beyond the limits set by the Paris Agreement, affirming the essential role of youth in shaping today's and tomorrow's leaders, decision makers, and active citizens who will face the evolving climate challenge, emphasizing the need for science-driven solutions to build a sustainable future and the urgency of enhancing collaboration between public policy and academia to expand climate-related research and secure adequate funding, underscoring the need for robust support for biodiversity preservation, resilient food and water systems, and a just and inclusive energy transition that aligns with global development goals, representing young leaders from around the world, calls for action on critical issues such as biodiversity, oceans, equitable energy transition, and declares that NDCs must integrate comprehensive measures for biodiversity conservation, prioritizing the preservation of both marine and terrestrial ecosystems, recognizing these efforts as essential to maintaining global climate balance and addressing the interconnected challenges of our time. Ocean conservation to be acknowledged as a foundational component of climate action, with commitments to reduce marine pollution, protect coastal habitats, and support sustainable use of ocean resources, recognizing that oceans are critical to climate regulation and biodiversity. The need to pursue energy transition with a focus on equity and inclusivity ensures that all communities benefit from the shift to renewable energy. This transition should address the disproportionate impact on vulnerable communities and avoid perpetuating historic patterns of inequality. International climate funds, including the Green Climate Fund, Just Transition Fund, and United Climate Cooperation Fund, must be scaled up significantly to address the rising challenge of climate impacts. Transparent and accountable carbon markets can further drive effective reductions in emissions, ensuring that financial flows are directed toward impactful climate solutions. Technology transfer is critical to facilitate innovation and capacity building in climate solutions, especially in regions most affected by climate change. Cooperation in technology sharing is crucial to advancing a just and effective global response. This transfer, supported by increased funding and reinforced public-private partnerships, is essential for reducing global carbon emissions and ensuring sustainable growth. Protected areas and biodiversity credits must be expanded as fundamental ecosystem restoration and conservation tools. Mechanisms such as that for nature and that for carbon swaps offer innovative approaches to strengthen these efforts, aligning economic incentives with environmental preservation. A transition to a circular economy is essential for sustainable development, coupled with the global sharing of data, knowledge, and best practices in environmental protection. Such collaboration will enable a more inclusive and sustainable green transition, promoting responsible consumption and production worldwide. This pivotal role of young leaders in driving transformative action on these critical issues, acknowledging that their engagement, creativity, and vision are essential to building a sustainable future. The active participation of youth must be integrated into decision-making processes at all levels. All sectors of society, from governments to the private sector, must unite to meet these urgent priorities with clear, accountable actions. Youth COP 2024 stands as a call for the youth to be at the forefront of climate action, working toward a future that is just, resilient, and sustainable for all, embodying the principles of intergenerational responsibility and global solidarity. Thank you very much. And I'll hand over to my colleague so that she can finish.
So this is what we had to present for you today. I would like to once again thank every single one of you for being here. I don't know about you, but if it were up to me, I would stay here for a few more hours listening to the amazing delegates that we brought here today. They had amazing perspectives that I love to hear. So it was great to get to hear a little bit more. I had the privilege of listening to them for the 3 intense days that they mentioned. And if you'd like to get to know more about the Youth Cup and perhaps even being part of it next year, I see a lot of young people here as well. So if you would like to get to know more about it, you can connect with us to join the Youth Cup next year. So we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. I think the QR code is here. You can contact us. Here we are expecting to have an amazing edition of the Youth COP next year, especially since the next COP is going to be held in our country. So our team is almost all Brazilian, and we would love to get to hear from all of you from all around the world, especially in our country. So once again, thank you so much for listening to us. As we said, the Youth COP is a project made by youth, for youth, but also for the whole world. So it is great to get to be here with you guys. And the only reason that our project happens and exists and gets to reach its main objective is because we get to talk to so many different people from all over the world. So we only get to fulfill our objectives because we have every single one of you here. So if you were here with us for this panel, I hope you know that you made a huge difference in our project, in these young people's lives, in these future climate leaders' lives, and especially in the future of our climate for having these amazing leaders. So thank you so much once again for having us. I hope we will get to hear more from you. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to us. The whole team is here, so you can connect with us through this QR code, our Instagram. We would love to hear from you. Thank you once again. I hope you have a great day.